week had no highlight. Yeah, no, it was just okay. Hi everybody, my name is Morioki. For me, my week had no highlight. Yeah, and I'm glad to be here with you people as a moderator. Yeah, and I know we're going to have a good discussion. So just watch us and hear what you have to say. Fine. So I'll start with the first question. When you hear the word community, what goes through your mind? Yeah, when you hear the word community, what goes through your mind? What's the first thing that goes through your mind? Thanks. You can raise your hands. When you're community, what goes through your heads? Anyone?
Can't see why I'm seeing a lot of
Yeah.
seeing like
Yeah.
my hand.
I can't see anybody's hand. I can't see one in my screen.
Yeah, I'm looking. I don't know. Yeah, I'm using my laptop. I don't know where to raise my hand using the laptop. I'm just to the phone.
Okay. Okay, just go ahead and go ahead. No problem.
So when I hear community, it's just the people around you. When I hear community, that is what I what I hope I'm very audible.
No, I'm Mr. Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Okay, no, you are putting your ear close to your phone. I'm saying when I hear the word community, what I know about community is people around you, people who surround you. That is what I know about community.
Okay, fine.
Society.
Okay, fine. Thanks.
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Okay, Oscar.
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Community, even I remember even a while ago, like about 30 minutes ago, I was typing on our Christian community. We are trying to bereave one of our members. Amepoteza mtu. So a community usually refers to a group of maybe people, a group of a bunch of people who believe in one common things. For example, with Christianity, who believe in Jesus Christ, that is called a community. That's called a community. For example, atheists who don't believe in God, they are called atheist community. So
okay,
the name
thanks.
don't usually appear when you are together, when maybe you have something that's connecting you. You are meeting more often. For example, I could say your group, the ask group, how you normally meet more often. That's a community.
Okay, fine. Thanks, Oscar. Moses?
As human beings, we are social beings. We've evolved to connect socially. That's how we've survived, because of building social connections. Social connections make us thrive and survive our enemies and difficult times. So when humans find something that is common to them, that brings them together, binds them together, it could be language, it could be values, whatever it is, and they build those bonds where they need each other. The key here is that they need each other for whatever reason, need each other. Like what Oscar said, when you're bereaved, need each other to survive, need each other to encourage each other, whatever it is. Whatever brings you together and sustains you, I would call that a community. And a community is a very generic term. It's not religious. Religion has taken advantage of a very human thing, not advantage. They use it very well, to their credit, very, very well. And I think we are lagging behind, but I'm sure we'll catch up with time. Thank you.
Thanks, Moses. Dorcas? Dorcas?
Yes. I echo everybody's sentiments. A community is a group of like-minded individuals with shared values and perhaps a common goal. Examples include what's his name, Oscar has cited, but we also have several other communities that have little to do with religion. For instance, we have the Njurichege community. I think there are a number of Meru members in our society. So yeah, we have the ethnic one that brings together people from the central Kenyan region. I think it's, what is it called? It has the Akamba, the Kikuyu, the Meru, and the Embu community. I forget the acronym. So there's that community. Then even specific ethnicities are communities. Aha, thank you. Indeed, the Gema community. Even specific communities, specific ethnicities are communities when they organize and they mobilize, when they come together. Then we also have communities that focus on a particular cause. For instance, we have vegans. We have a vegan or vegetarian community in Kenya. I believe Morioki is one of them. We have feminist communities. I do not officially belong to any, but perhaps I will start one because I consider that cause to be close, near and dear to my heart. We have football communities, and this can be organized based on various football teams, or it can be an amalgam of all of them within a specific country. So the examples are endless. Actually, your mind or your creativity is the limit in terms of examples of communities. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Dorcas. For me, according to Google, I have two definitions. The first one says it's a group of people living in the same place or having a particular characteristic in common. Then the second one is the condition of sharing or having certain attributes and interests in common. Yeah, that's from Google. Yeah, but for my mind, community is just a group of people who have something in common, who get together on a regular basis to share things. That's from my head. Okay, thanks. So the second question is, when you hear free time, the word, those two words, free time, what goes through your minds? Free time. Thanks. When you have free time, what do you think? Yeah, Maurice?
Free time is free time.
Yeah, expound. Yeah, expound more. That's all.
It's time that you are free.
Okay. Thanks. Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Okay. Estonio? El maestro?
Of course, free time. Time that you are free. You are not time that you don't have responsibilities that are time that you are away from responsibilities.
El maestro, you're not clear. You sound far. You're not clear, El maestro. Just speak up, please.
I'm not clear.
Yeah, not clear. Yeah, you sound far.
Right now, am I clear?
Also, Morioki, mute.
Okay, as I was saying, free time maybe in what I understand about free time is time that you are away from responsibilities. Or what? That's what I can say. Because when you are free time, hey, but there are people who they are never free. Even if they are free time, they still receive calls from left and right. That's what I understand by free time. Muruki, unmute.
Sorry. Juliana?
Thanks, Murioki. So, yes, I concur with Maurice. Lazy free time, as he said, it's free time. But I also wanted to put it out there that I don't know if it will be free time for me, because when I hear the definition of free time, it's time I have consciously created for myself. For instance, if I got laid off, I've been laid off work before, so like the work is finished, so my contract is done. And all of a sudden, I don't have anything to do. So to me, I guess it's free time, but it's not free, enjoyable time that I will look forward to. Whereas free time, when I stopped wasting 2 days a week going to church or church-related activities, that to me is really, really free time because I chose it. And so yes, free time is free time, but then I'm qualifying what is a good type of free time. This is for me. So my good free time is the one that I've consciously decided to create for myself. So for instance, if I tired of going out to see my friends, I'll create my free time and I'll say, okay, this weekend I'm not going. So I'm creating that time. I am taking control of how I'm spending my time. And so I value that free time a lot more than I would value free time if my employer all of a sudden said, okay, we don't need you anymore. You're not working here anymore. So even though it's free time, one is more valuable than the other. Ryuki, unmute if you're talking.
Gosh, sorry. Oscar.
Am I audible, Muriaki?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So I had a different explanation, but when Juliana touches about religion and church, it touches my heart. So I decided now to came up with mine to counter Juliana claim. For me, free time, I normally use it as a precious opportunity for spiritual growth and connection with God, connection with Jesus. Spiritual time for those people who had families, good during that time to interact with your family. For example, I normally see Wachira. I normally spend a lot of time with those with his family in Coast. So me, I think free time is for me on my perspective. I normally use it to meditate it and interact with God during my free time. For me, that's what my free time means.
Okay, thanks, Oscar. Uchabeleli.
Hello, Muriaki. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. To me, free time is just simply time off from your work, from your chores or obligations. Only that. How you decide to use it, it's exactly just what you want to use your time for. If you want to go to church, if you want to meditate, if you want to watch a movie, if you want to game and all that. But just I'm saying it's just time that is set aside, which is different from not going to work. You're not doing any chores and you don't have any obligations. And also just something to add on. Most of the time we usually confuse free time and leisure, thinking it's the same thing. When it comes to leisure, I think it's just now how you're using your free time to have fun, mostly on the positive aspect, because leisure is supposed to be fun. But free time is just flat, like you don't have anything much to do. Like you're not going to work, you're not doing any chores, and you don't have any obligations. So that's free time. That's according to me. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Chebeleli. Moses.
I don't think we have. Okay, I can be a bit. I don't think we have free time. I think I side with Juliana. Free time is free time in. It has a context. I believe in this context it is free from, say, work. So if I'm not working, then that time is free. But then it's an oxymoron, because if it's free time and I'm with my community, say we have a birthday in my house and my community comes in, because I think that's the topic, communities in our free time. And it's not really free, but maybe what I'm thinking, that the context of free is free from, say, productive work. If I have to be working and I'm busy, then if I'm not, then that space that I can build to, that space that I can utilize for community interactions. I think that's how I understand the word free time.
So Moses, is it a must? It's a weekend holiday, am I for it anytime? Does that be a weekend, a holiday, or it can be any day for you?
No, I was defining it in the context of our topic, because we are trying to attach community to free time. So I'm just saying free, and that's why I'm aligning with Juliana. It's time I create outside of when I have to go to work, because I can't have my community when I'm working productively in my office. It's not in the context of this topic. So I'm saying that's how I'm defining free. The space created outside of me working, where I can connect with communities through hobbies or whatever it is. May I make a comment? It's a bit off. Yeah. This is to Oscar. Oscar, I think you started the call by almost warning us not to touch, not to, probably, I think you meant not to disrespect your Nini. I think that's okay, but I think you keep throwing subtle messages at us. Anyway, I hope you can also invite us to your circles and your groups. Atheists are very open and very welcoming. And I hope you can also invite us to your group so that we can also push our own agendas and messages there also. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Moses. Steady, go ahead.
Hello. For me, free time is when I get to watch movies, when I get to just sit down, don't think about anything, don't be stressed about work, don't be stressed about family, watch TikToks, go through Instagram. I think for me, that is my free time. And I can do absolutely anything that I like. Yeah.
So, Steady, I'm asking, is it a must? It's in the weekend. How much can be any time for you? How much has to be a weekend?
For me, it's anytime. It's anytime. It's not necessarily on a weekend. It's anytime. The moment that I have time to myself to do anything that I want, for me, that's free time. That can happen either in the evening, once I'm out of work, or it can happen even in the morning, some few hours before I go to work. So for me, that time is my free time.
Okay, thanks, Steady. So for me, free time is I think like what you're all saying. It's when you have time for yourself, and you can take charge of your time. You can do what you want when you want to, and no one is controlling you. You're not being watched by your boss or anyone else. It's time for yourself, your own time, where you're your own boss. That's for me, free time. Okay, so next I can share a short story. Some time back, I was looking for a group to join in because I was kind of lonely. So I joined a youth group in Holy Family Basilica because I grew up there. I grew up a Catholic, so I was an atheist, but I wanted a group. So I went to Holy Family Basilica youth group. So I joined them. But what I used to do, I used to go after mass and hang with them, not in the mass, just outside. When the mass is over, I used to go and hang with them. But now one day, one of them asked me, how come you don't go to church? How come you don't come to church? You only come after the mass. So I felt guilty. So next Sunday, I went to church. So I became part of them. I was an altar boy. I used to sing with them. We used to dance. And I'm an atheist. used to go to children's homes. It was very good and healthy for me. But I was an atheist, so I felt very guilty. So one day I just left them. I just left without telling them. I left them because of the guilt. So a few years back, I called them and confessed why I left, because I was an atheist and you guys are Christians. But they understood. And my point is, it was very healthy, very helpful, and I liked every Sunday going to be with them. So the question is, as atheists, do you think it's important for us to form communities like that? Thanks. Steady, go ahead. Steady, your hand up from before or it's now?
It was from
Okay.
before, but I think I can still go. Okay. I do believe you can have such communities. For me, for example, I have friends who are religious and some who are not religious. What you have done, we have those who are not religious, they might be agnostics, or some are atheists, and some are Christians, some are just wako tu katikati. So we find ourselves just we don't define ourselves according to the religious community that we are. We find ourselves that we are more on the interest that we have. For example, most of us are into tech, so we find ourselves that is the community that we have made, although we are all non-religious in that group. So in terms of maybe having conversation about religion, about God, we have them in that specific group, and also we talk about tech and other interests that we have. So I think it's very possible for atheists to have such community. You just need to find people you have a common goal or common interest, not necessarily just religion alone.
Fine, thanks, Teddy. Dorcas?
Kindly repeat the question.
Yeah, I just shared how I joined a youth group as an atheist and I felt guilty because I was an atheist. So I had to leave them because I was an atheist. So I'm asking, for atheists, is it important for us to form a group like that? Because it was very healthy for me. Every Sunday you go, you join, you sing, you dance, you go out. It was very healthy. But I left because I'm an atheist. So for atheists, is it important for us to form such groups? Thanks.
Great. My answer is yes, a big, fat, resounding yes. And these are my reasons. Reason number one is what Moses Kamau had said initially when we were doing the introductions, that human beings have an innate need to connect with each other. You see, there was a research that was done of men who were born in the 1930s, and the research was completed, I believe, in this decade. I don't know whether it was last year or in 2020, but in this decade, in the 2020s, the research was completed. So that research followed these men from the time they were little boys to at this time when they are now grandpas. Some of them even died. And the purpose of the research was to find out what is the secret to happiness. So each and every time they would keep asking the research participants whether they are happy, and then they would ask them what is leading to their happiness. And they found that there was a recurring theme. Without a doubt, all the happy people attributed it to belonging to a community or having rich relationships. Sometimes those relationships were from their family members, but in other instances, it was with a greater group of people. So it is paramount. It has been empirically tested that if you want to be happy, you need a community of like-minded individuals. If you don't have one, your chances of being lonely are high, and loneliness is a fast track way to mental health problems. It has been stated that loneliness can sometimes be more toxic than smoking or than having an unhealthy diet for some individuals, of course, not for everybody, but for some individuals. So for that purpose, we need a community. Atheists need a community. By the way, I have to comment about Oscar. When Moses made that observation, he's a first-time attendee in this meeting, and he's already noticed the antagonism that's coming from you, Oscar. Oscar, what I would request is that when you come to our spaces, we are atheists. This is an atheist society. You're coming to our space. We've invited you as a guest, but you are here insulting us on the chat. You're telling us, oh, you atheists don't care about justice and fairness. You atheists do this, you do that. You've come with an agenda. Even when we are discussing free time, you are already smuggling in God and spirituality and the soul. You have an agenda. Why don't you just have a conversation with us? Why don't we just commune? Let's learn to get along, regardless of our divergent opinions. And let's not always have this need to push our beliefs down other people's throats, even when they have nothing to do with the topic of the day. So, Oscar, please, tuheshimiane. We've invited you as a guest. No need to insult, no need to throw those subtle comments on the chat. But back to my contribution. I'll add two more reasons why atheists need a community. There are many more I could mention, but I don't want this to be a monologue. Another reason is the need for tradition and ritual. It has been shown that human beings also relish tradition. I remember when I used to live with my niece, for those of you who know me, I was a guardian to my niece for about 12 years. And we used to have these rituals before we go to bed. We would have supper. Then when we are done with supper, she would brush her teeth. Then I would read her a bedtime story, or she would read the bedtime story as I listen to practice her reading skills. And then we would hug and kiss good night. So the day that I would skip, she would feel incomplete. Like if I was too busy working, she would come and she'd be like, no, I need my bedtime story. I need my good night hug. Because there's just that need to have rituals and traditions, even in such a small setup like a family. So a community that has a structure, that has tradition in that manner, that has rituals. And rituals don't need to invoke the supernatural. They can be just like what we have here, which is Friday nights. Every Friday night, we have a Zoom meeting at 10 p.m. Or every first Sunday of the month, we meet physically. We either go to an outdoor place and we do certain things. There are actually certain activities which are essential in those hangouts. So those are sort of rituals. They are rituals, and they bond us together. They make us feel like we are part of a greater whole. Lastly, I think it is important for atheists to have community in order for them to wrestle with existential issues. So just because we left Christianity or Islam or religion in general, it doesn't mean that we no longer deal with existential issues. Where did we come from? Where are we going when we die? What creates a legacy? Does life have meaning? Inherent or externally imposed, whichever way you interpret. How do you be moral without a supernatural force imposing its will on you? And many other existential issues. So when you have a community as atheists, you tackle these ideas from a secular perspective. And to me, it is actually a healthier way of looking at it, because you look at it critically. You don't look at it dogmatically. So those are my reasons. I'm hoping to hear from the rest. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Dorcas. Oscar, respond for 3 minutes to what Dorcas said. Oscar, just respond to what Dorcas said for 3 minutes. Oscar, I give you 3 minutes to respond to what Dorcas has told you. Oscar, are you there? Oscar? Oh, he's okay, fine. Okay, fine, okay. No one else about the question I asked. Is it good for atheists to have a group, like a youth group, or community? Is it good for us to have our own groups? That was the question. Okay, Richard Benelli?
Thank you very much, Ricky. Still on the question, I think we already have a group, or you wanted a different group for let's say hiking and the things, and or let's say another group that does what you want.
No, like we don't meet. We only meet on Zoom. We don't meet regularly, like every Sunday. You know, like church every Sunday. I'm talking about that regularly.
So, oh, I see. So you want something like a ritual, like a tradition, like the way Doctor was saying. Yeah.
Yes. Regular.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's very much practical. Yeah, if you find willing members who will do that, because at the same time now you should also be aware that not everyone will be for that. But yes, I actually agree that some people might have a similar mindset who might want to meet frequently, who might want to meet even if it's a Friday or even if it's a Sunday physical. I think such individuals might be existing, and yes, I don't think there is any problem with you maybe seeking them out, then forming a sort of group. Just the same way that if for example you are playing football, you could find maybe atheists who play football and then form a group or something. It's very much practical. It's very much okay. And still adding on Dorcas's points, which yes, they very much make sense. And I think communities also offer a sense of belonging. Yeah. And in as much as yes, we all know how life is and all that. And yes, some of us might be extroverts or introverts and all that. But at the end of the day, it's the masses. You see, the herd mentality or the safety in numbers and all that, which sort of brings a sense of belonging, and it actually helps to overcome some of the challenges we face through life. If you have a feeling of a belonging towards a certain community and all that, and all in all, I think everything else Dr. said is very much perfect, and I think she like took the words off my mouth or my mind because she spoke earlier. But yes, they really make sense. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Juliana, thanks, Jebeleli. Juliana.
Yeah, thanks, Murioki, and thanks for the very interesting outlook on communities. As I sit here listening to everyone, I'm sort of going back and forth. And the question is, do we need to form a community or do we need communities? Here's where I'm going with this. There are many communities out there. There are many associations, I'm going to call them associations, communities out there. There's, for instance, there's a running club, there is a vegetarian club, there is maybe a cooking class, maybe, I don't know, all sorts of communities. So I'm thinking perhaps instead of us trying to come up with our own community, how about we join those communities and become part of them, especially the ones that are welcoming. I know some communities we won't feel comfortable there, but I'm pretty sure lots of communities that don't depend on religion will be very welcoming of new people. So when I think of us forming a community, I'm just looking at it like now we're going to form another community that is just for atheists. Like we already have this community, this Zoom, so that's good. We already do some activities, but if we form our own community, are we in danger of now even isolating ourselves because now we have our own community as opposed to let's go out there and join the already established communities that already have the infrastructure set up and be part of those communities instead of us trying to create a different one. So I'm sort of, I'm on the fence with this whole idea of creating an atheist community. I think what we should probably be looking at is how do we make those communities, how those communities can be inclusive to allow all sorts of people to join, because there are so many communities out there, because not just one community will not work for one person. You need to be part of different types of activities, and there's no way you can form one community that will give you all those activities. It's not possible. So for instance, if I liked to play soccer or play football, Kenyan football, then I'll join a football community. I don't have to create a whole football community just for the atheists. First of all, I don't think they're enough, and maybe not all atheists like to play. So if I want to play tennis, then I'll go join the tennis community. If I like to read, then I'll join book clubs, maybe one or two. So to me, when I look at the idea of should we establish just a community for us, I am on the fence with that. Instead, I'm saying, how can we identify communities or associations that are inclusive, that will allow us to join, and therefore making them more inclusive? That's what I'm on the fence with that. Thanks, Miriam.
Okay, Juliana, maybe I can share a short story also before Neve speaks. There's this lady called Wanjiru. Just alive. She's called Margaret Wanjiru. So my cousin is a member of our church. So once he had a pre-wedding party. So I went to the pre-wedding party, and they're all Christians. So I was very quiet. So they asked me, why are you so quiet? So I told them I don't believe what you guys believe in. So they started preaching to me about the gospel, about how they got saved, what not. So my point is, like in Kenya, almost every group you go to, you'll find they have to do prayers, or they're mostly religious, like in Kenya. So I feel like we're left out. I feel like when people are praying, I feel left out. So I want to go to a place where I won't feel out of place. You get, Juliana? I want to go to a place where I can go from the beginning to the end and be comfortable with people, not feel like when they are praying, I feel like I'm out of place. What do you think?
Yeah, unfortunately, that is the reality. Actually, I'll give you an example about the religion. So I stay in a condominium. When we have our parties, like our dinners, they ask somebody to open with a word of prayer. So they ask this person, he used to be a pastor in his life. So he'll stand up and pray for like 2 minutes. And so I asked myself, okay, this is uncomfortable, so I can either walk out or I can just let those 5 minutes go and spend the time enjoying dinner with the rest of the people. Because after that, there is no talk about God. And if it's talk about God at a public place, I literally shut it down. Like if it's public, no, if I come to somebody's house and you preach to me, I will not be coming back. But then again, I shouldn't expect you not to preach, especially if I know you're Christian. So I'll just tell myself, next time I am not going to this person's house. But if you meet me in the street, I am sitting having my own coffee, and you come and start giving me a Bible, I'll shut it down. So unfortunately, that's what we have to do sometimes when we go to these communities where they of course start with prayer. I mean, I don't know how we get over that. It's just people, first of all, people assume you're Christian, which is not fair to the Muslims or to the Jewish people or to the Buddhist, because they would also like to pray their own way. So why should people assume just because we're gathering, we are going to pray to Jesus? That's just so annoying. But on the other hand, if that prayer is just like 5 minutes and then we get on to the rest of the game, sometimes I am willing to sacrifice. And when they're praying, you know what I'm doing? I'm just looking around, especially if it's food, I'm already planning which dish to start on. So, Murioki, I totally understand, like, yeah, it's nice to go to a place, but unfortunately, the reality is, there are some places where you have no control over, especially the prayer, unless it's a public space. And sometimes even public spaces, depending on how people perceive their religiosity, sometimes we have no choice but just put up with it for the short time, and if we can't, just avoid them. So I can understand having places where you just go, like I love these Zoom meetings, like, because I know I can come here and I can talk anything and nothing about prayer and Bible verses and all that stuff. So I like that. I understand that. But on the other hand, we are living in the real world where we have run across, especially with family. I remember when I went for my mom's funeral, I had to live with my sister. I usually don't do that. I usually rent a hotel or something. She was Christian completely. So I had to put up with, oh, let's pray for supper, and then I drew the line at Bible study. I said, I don't care. Call your friends to pray for my mom. She's died, but I am going to Bible study. So sometimes we just have to sort of compromise where we can, but it would be so nice if we got our own community. But realistically, it might take us a while to create our own communities. Therefore, I'm saying, let's try and reach out to the existing ones that are more inclusive and see whether we can't form those relationships and slowly nudge them away from assuming everyone is a Christian to, oh, if people want to pray, let's just reflect for 2 minutes on whatever religion and let's get on with it. So yeah, I totally understand how nice it would be to go to a place where you didn't have to worry about that. And unfortunately, we do come across those situations more so in Kenya than in other parts of the world. Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Juliana. Debe.
Thanks, Muriuki. Hello, everybody. Of course, I had to pay my bills, so sorry I'm late. And so I missed a lot of this, the bigger part of this conversation. So should we be groups or should we found our own groups? Definitely, as somebody has already said, we knowingly or unknowingly, we are members of other groups that are not atheists. So that is something that sometimes we have to carefully navigate and to be so as to be in those groups, because even here in Canada, the groups that I'm in that are Kenyans, they are rabid Christians. So, and some of them know I am an atheist. So I'm always kind of, either somebody's afraid of me or they are waiting to get at me, but I am not easy to bully. I don't bully people, and I'm not going to be bullied just because I'm not a Christian. You're not going to make me a Christian when the preacher doesn't even know the Bible more than I do. It's kind of, it kind of creates a difficult situation for them because they are trying to convert me, but they quote the Bible wrongly. And if I correct it, that's like, how dare you when you are an atheist? You know, you see that you are dealing with somebody that is heading to Mackenzie, and let me not say that it is really awful that Mackenzie did what he did, but you are dealing with somebody that wants you to bring you to Christianity almost by force, so that you can fit in that group. But I don't understand what they are preaching to you about. There is one person, however, a preacher in one of the groups that really, he's nice, but he also knows the Bible very well. So let me give him, I will give him that. But he's not rabid. But still can't be converted. But when I am in a group, there is one team that I'm with this pastor, and just to be polite, and I don't joke about it, I tell him to open with a prayer and to close with a prayer, because you know what? It's not going to do anything for me. Like, how many prayers have I prayed since I was a kid, and I'm still an atheist? So I say, yeah, open with a prayer. I do that because I am I am chairing this group. I say, hey, pastor, reverend, open with a prayer. They open with a prayer, and somebody else closes with a prayer. And maybe that way I confuse them. But for me, it is just that it's a team I'm working with, and I would like us to work together. I want my team to succeed. And I understand my Kenyans. And like I always say, there is no love like a Christian love. Oh boy, Oscar, I understand where you are coming from. You come to a group and you give us your brand of Christian love. I know it, I understand it, because that is the love almost all Christians give to non-Christians, to atheists, to Buddhists, and my neighbor is a Buddhist. She doesn't care about religion. She's a very nice person from China. They don't care. Oh no, she's not even a Buddhist. They don't care about whether you are a Christian or not. They're okay. So, but I expect that from Christian and probably from Muslims. I expect that. But anyway, but sometimes we have to be in those groups. Here in Ontario, I am in those groups. Probably Juliana is in one of those groups. We are not in Kenya, but we are facing the same thing with the groups, the Kenyan groups. Now, I am in other groups that are not Kenyans, that maybe gardening group or this kind of group. Nobody cares. We don't pray. You go there and you grab your hamburger and you do whatever you've got. Nobody's going to tell you tell you Jesus loves you or anything. Nobody's going to do anything like that. And people are not fighting just because they are not telling each other Jesus loves you. So there are many, there are situations that you have to be, and you have got to navigate each situation according to who is in that group. Because we need those groups. We need to be members of those groups. So we are going to have to navigate them accordingly. But I have found that probably I've not been in Muslim situations lately, ever since I left Mombasa. But I do know that when you are with Christians, you have to navigate situations more. You have to navigate it more carefully. Now, as Muriuki is saying, should we have our own, we have every Sunday, or we have after this, or what is the reason that we should do that? Is it because we are envious of people who have meetings on Sunday, or is it because we want that community? Do we want that community, that togetherness? We can do that and go on a climb, or or go sit by the river, go play in the park. It doesn't have to be Sunday. It can be Sunday, it can be Saturday. But just because Christians have something, that's not the reason that we should have it. We should have it because we think that there is some benefit to it. So I hope that was the question. That I was in and out listening to what the question was. But Murithi, I hope that was the question. Thank you.
So, Dave, a quick question. Those meetings you go to, if you don't do a prayer, what if you go and don't tell them to say a prayer? Will anything happen? If you go and just start the meeting without saying opening prayer and closing prayer, will anything go wrong?
I was, as you know, and I'm sure most of you are born in Christian families, and people are very easy to annoy because when we go to the bigger KCO, this one is just it's as a group. It's just a team that does a certain thing. But when we are in the main group, the main KCO group, we open with a prayer and we close with a prayer. So I have two reverends in my team. So what do you expect? I have two reverends. So I have a reverend lady and I've got a reverend man. They are actually very nice people. So I am sure they expect that. And whenever I do that, either they are pleasantly surprised or they do not understand what kind of atheist I am, but they know I am totally an atheist. So I hope they do take it the way I do. They pray. I am just sitting there waiting for them to finish. It does not affect, it has zero effect on me. Absolutely zero effect. It is just part of to me, it's just part of the meeting. It's part of what I have to do for my team to succeed. Do I think that Jesus is going to help us to succeed? Nah. Do I think anything would, do I think that if we didn't pray, the team would not succeed? Yes, because they would find a reason. There's nothing, I'm telling you, Muriuki, there's nothing like a Christian love. They will find a reason to not succeed, for us, that team to not succeed. Because first of all, it is led by an atheist. a woman in the, you know what I mean. So I have to midwife it very carefully. If we have to pray, go ahead, pray all you want.
Thanks. Thank you, David.
Morioki, let me request Eugene to go before me.
Okay, fine. No problem. Thanks. No problem. Okay, Eugene.
Because he raised his hand first.
Sorry, I missed
Thank
that. Sorry.
you. Thank you very much, Doctors, for that. Morioki should be observant. Okay, just to back your point as well, I think I completely get your point. While, for example, if you can allow me to use you as an example, yes. While we have an atheist community or an atheist group, yeah, all of us are not vegans, but you are a vegan, yeah. And most of the time we sort of ridicule you here and there, and probably you feel some type of way, maybe, but you don't show it and all that. However, I do understand why you might want to. Maybe if I were you, I will still remain in the group, but I'll sort of try and befriend any other vegan atheist around. At the end of the year, or at the end of maybe 10 years, or maybe 20 years, if there is such a thing, you will end up with a circle of fellow-minded vegans. Because at the end of the day, at the beginning of this topic, I think you defined what a community is, and you say that at the end of the day, yes, it might have elements of having the same, having similar characteristics. Yeah. So there's nothing wrong with you finding a team of hikers who are vegans and who are atheists. It's very much possible. I don't think there's any limit to the number of connections a single person can make. They usually say, if, for example, you are supposed to live up to 80 years old, you would have met around 80,000 people, and that's not a maximum. It's not a minimum as well. It's just an average. So there's really nothing wrong with that. We might as well say that, yes, it's tiresome and all that, but look at it this way. It's just last month I was in Western. Yeah? I went to a hike with my colleagues. And yes, my colleagues are predominantly Christian, and they sort of hogged the moment. They sucked out the fun of it, because how can you go to hike in Kakamega Forest and then they say, let's pray? So I didn't pray. I just looked at them and I was like, it would have been a whole lot of fun if they were atheists. But I know, yeah, they're not atheists, but I'm still part of them. I'm part of their community. But I do understand why you have to do such fun activities with fellow-minded individuals. Yes, just because we have an artist community in WhatsApp or even in Zoom we meet, and even we meet, for example, for the hikes, for the meetups, I don't think there's any limit. There's anyone to limit you that, you know what, this is the end of the communities you can form. For instance, not all of us atheists drink, but Muriaki, you can agree that we have drinkers who are atheists. So equally, there's nothing wrong with them seeking out fellow drinkers or fellow alcoholics, and then they say, you know what, it's a Friday, let's go into a pub and let's chill. Yeah, that's still okay. There's really no limit. And I think if we can just open our minds, yes, I'm not saying it's useless joining other groups out there, because as I've said, yes, even me personally, I'm part of very many groups out there, including work, it can be any other activities, and which are totally not related to atheism. But I do understand the need for having members who are of like-minded, for example, if you are going to watch a movie and then you're like, you don't want this movie and everyone else likes that movie, so what's the point of you coming? So it literally beats the point. So yes, just my point is just simple. Like, Muriaki, for to make a circle of friends who are vegans, or maybe who like to do things which you have in common, there's really no problem that you can go ahead and do that. And it will be actually more fun if you realize that they are very like-minded as you, they are atheists as you, like, you will actually enjoy it, than, for example, turning up to hiking and then you realize that it's 99.99% Christian. So they reach at the summit and then they all bow down and they pray to some god, and you're like, what the hell is this? Like, I understand the frustration that it comes with. And yes, while some can actually go over it nicely, like, after all, we were all born by Christians or religious, yeah, in quotes. Yeah. So it's not like it's a new thing, but there is some sort of stress or some frustrations that comes along if you don't get along with people who are not if you are trying to get along with people who are not like-minded as you. So yes, it's very much valid. I think it's a very much valid concern. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Devinelli. But I can add on to that. I can add to that. This church of Margaret Wanjiru, my cousin's church. In fact, when I was quiet, they were okay with me. But when I said I don't believe, I'm not a believer, some changed. Some couldn't shake my hand. In the beginning, they were okay with me. When they knew I don't believe, some couldn't shake my hand anymore. They saw me like I'm a strange person, which felt very. It was very unfortunate. They changed towards me when they knew I don't believe. So okay, Dorcas.
Okay, I wanted to respond to Juliana's comment and in the process make more contributions on why we need an atheist community, specifically an atheist community. Of course, we also need other communities, as Luchaveleli has so aptly explained, but specifically atheism, why do they need to get together and form a community? So I have to clarify that we already have a community. we are just justifying it. Okay, we like to look at things introspectively in this society. We don't just do things for the sake of it. Even our very existence, we question it. We dissect it and analyze it. Is it necessary or not? Yeah. So we already have an atheist community, but we are looking at why it is there in the first place. And in the process, then it would help us optimize our goals. Okay, when you understand your why, then your what will not matter. Now, when Juliana said that she's torn in between having an atheist community specifically, or us just joining other communities, maybe hobby communities or communities that just deal with nothing to do with religion. When she said that she's torn between just doing that instead of creating our own, I have to state, Juliana, that there are specific qualities and needs that SAS-K or any atheist community meets, which those suggested communities, like maybe gardening or a book club or hiking or a vegan, do not meet. This is special. It is unique to us. And these are the reasons. These are some of the reasons. Of course, I mentioned the others, but here are other things which you will not find in those other hobby communities. One of them is this idea of wrestling with existential questions. The church used to do that very well for us, but now we have left the church. So how do we wrestle with these existential questions? An atheist community is such a good place to go to deal with that. How do I raise my child without religion? Or how do I deal with my fear of death if you have a fear of death? Those are things that you look into, or any of the other topics that we've discussed on these Zoom meetings or in person. There have been so many things we have addressed that might not necessarily come from science or maybe your profession. The answers might not come from there. Those answers can only come from a community that is committed to critical thinking and skepticism. And I'm so grateful that my mind has opened towards several things which I was closed to, especially around human sexuality. I think religion is obsessed with controlling human sexuality. But after joining an atheist community, I was able to research these issues and my mind opened. Especially as an example, I can give my attitude towards gay people or bisexual people, that did a 180 for me because we had that discussion here. It was it's an example of an existential discussion. I did my research. I listened to the PowerPoint presentation which Maurice had prepared. He was the one moderating that topic on that day, and I realized, kumbe, my hatred towards gay people is unfounded. Yeah, you cannot get this out there, people. You can't get it out there. You can only get it in communities like this one, atheist communities like this one. Then the other thing is, atheist communities also provide you the opportunity to mobilize and organize around legislative things. Most of you have complained about how religion permeates and dominates many spheres of life that are supposed to be separate. Yeah. For instance, in education, you find that the children are taught creationism. They are required to do prayers every day. There are all of these things that are done in public schools, yet our constitution says that Kenya is not a religious state. So there should be separation of church and state. So once you come together as an atheist community, you can organize around these issues. You can push for legislations around these matters. Or when you see wrongs in religion, things like faith healing or things like Shakahola and other cult ideas, we can push for legislation. We can engage in secular activism so that we can have a separation of church and state. You can't do that as an individual. If you stick to those communities, those hobby communities, you will have to contend with living in these societies where religion is imposed on you, even when you don't adhere to that perspective. So that's another reason, Juliana, why we specifically need an atheist society to mobilize for legislations to push for secularism and separation of church and state. Lastly, is the idea of social support. So a social support for major life events. You just look at what religion is doing and then ask yourself, how can we fill that void? Okay, I don't want to say replicate it, but in all honesty, religion has gotten it right when it comes to being there for people during major milestones. For example, if you have lost a loved one and you need rituals around it, you need that kind of commemoration of your loved one. You need a funeral. In our society currently, it is religion that dominates, and you don't believe in God. So what would you do instead? If you have an atheist community, you can be connected to humanist celebrants. We have so many in our midst. We have Semakula, we have Habeko, and there's somebody else I'm forgetting. But we have humanist celebrants who can conduct for you your funeral service or your weddings. Sometimes you want to celebrate such positive things like you coming together in matrimony. It is not holy, but it is matrimony, and you want some sort of ritual there. If you belong to an atheist community, you will be connected to people who can help you do that, and that community can also support you in those moments. So I think for social support during those very difficult times, I believe an atheist community will definitely come in handy. Religion has mastered it. Now let's find a secular alternative. Thank you.
Thanks, Dorcas. In fact, just to add on that, I've been helped twice by this, in fact, more than twice by this group. I've been in a jam and I've been helped by somebody in this group. Also, when my dad passed away, you guys, you gave some money, and also Dorcas and Boris and Kay, you came to my place to comfort me. So that was very powerful. So that was a step forward for us. It was very, very encouraging. Yeah. So steady, your hand was up. Steady, your hand was up.
Yeah, it was up. I even forgot what I was going to say. So it has been long. So that's up to me in the end.
Okay, fine, okay. So now I want to ask another question. Now, as atheists, why are we so few? But like, if somebody opens a church, it will happen very fast. You'll find he'll just start preaching, who will come, and it will grow very fast. You find he has so many followers. But now for atheists, the question is, why is it so difficult for us to form a quorum? Why are we so few? Thanks. Anyone? Why are we so few? Okay, wait, sorry. Mr. Baleli?
I think because there are several reasons I believe, and one of the reasons that I find it important as to why atheists are few and the religious are many and they still win hearts. It's because you should understand how religion works. You should understand that religion preys on the vulnerable. And right now, even with the state of the economy and all that's going on, we have a lot of very desperate people, very desperate individuals. People are going through suffering and all that. So by the virtue or the vice of suffering and all those problems like throws at everyone, we have a lot of desperate people. And given that also we are in a third world country, which is not helping at all. Yeah. So we have desperate people who try to, try to believe that maybe their suffering has some purpose, probably some great grand plan, some great grand break. And that's now where the church corner now comes. That's where they get them. When they convince them to join churches and they convince them maybe to convert to Islam and all that and all other religions. It's not that they're giving them solutions, but even that hope of a solution, that still works for them. So whether you like it or not, at the end of the day, we will have very many religious people versus a minority of atheists in Kenya. That is. If we can fast forward time now, I can't really say much about it because no one really knows what tomorrow holds. But I do believe that, yeah, maybe in the near future, when almost everyone will be well informed, I think they'll now find no reason, or if there is a small reason, because yes, there are some people who, yeah, they can still be well read, well educated, and all that, but they're still religious, and it's okay, it's normal. So I think, given the factors that I've talked about, specifically in our country, that is, I can't speak about the West, but I know that we have a lot of desperate people who will be first to turn to religion when everything goes over. Like if you have someone who is starving and then you have a preacher in front of them and an atheist in front of them, and then the atheist tries to convince them, the atheist will never get through to them, but a preacher will, even if it's con man, they will still be convinced. So yes, I think it's the fact that religion preys on the vulnerable, most important. Yeah.
So, Eugene, quick question. So, if somebody says atheists are hopeless, is that accurate? Just to speak, if somebody says atheists are hopeless, is that accurate in what I was speaking?
It's not really accurate, and it's a very hasty way of judging atheists, just because. And I do understand that people will say that they will tend to be the religious, because to them, having a grand designer, having someone who has come in their life, that's hope for them. That's
breaking. You know,
hear me now?
That's better. Yeah, that's much
Hello?
better. Yeah, that's better. That's
Okay.
better.
I was saying, when someone says that atheists are hopeless, I think number one, that's a religious person who doesn't understand how atheism works, and number two, he or she is doing some sort of weird, hasty generalization, because hope hope varies from one person to another. You can't really say that we have one unified hope. We will be very much dishonest. And the fact that people are atheists, it doesn't mean that they don't have any hope. For example, yes, we are in a community, and each and every one of us has at least something which is different to look forward to in life, whether it's tomorrow, whether it's next week or next year, and all that. So to say that atheists don't have hope, I think that's not really true. That's false.
Okay, fine, thanks. El Maestro?
Oh, first of all, let me first respond also to that thing about hope. So, if you are talking about hope for what hope for hope for the future, or for hope for what is the hope that you are talking about?
I meant like churches, like Eugene said, people are going to church because they are desperate, they have no money, but the
Yes,
preacher
yes, I know that question. I know that question. That's first question you've asked. I want to answer it, but I wanted to answer this second question that you've asked about hope. That people saying others don't have hope. Which hope in what? That is what I hope in afterlife, or hope in the future, or hope in what?
someone care, like God, Jesus loves you, God loves you, you know. That's what I mean.
I think
So that is hope.
I may interfere there. I think it's hope, like, for example, you are passing a certain problem, you have a certain difficulty in your life. So
Yeah.
you are given hope that tomorrow will be better. If you are sick, they give you hope by telling you are going to be get well.
Yeah.
If you are very desperate, maybe you are very poor, you don't know
Mm.
how you will be able to pay the loan, they give you hope by saying God will provide a way. Such hope.
Mm. So the
But
first,
can we say whether it is hope or it is placation? Just to clarify, I'm not trying to throw the arrange into the works, but is it a hope or is it just a placation, something to make us feel good?
Yeah, it's not the hope. It's not the
it
hope.
is
To
false.
them,
In
hope.
fact, that is what I wanted to say. I'd rather just, for me, this thing about hope, I'd rather live in reality than be sold false hope. This thing, Christian has told me this, and I told him, I'd rather live in reality than live in false hope. Because if I'm living in reality, I'll look for a solution. But when I'm being sold false hope, I'll just be there. Okay, something will happen.
Like,
Because the hope that Christians are told, that is false hope.
but it works. There are so many. Me and
How
there are
does
so
it
many.
work? It
There
works.
are so many. No, I'm saying they go in. There are very many. They go together and there are many, and they help each other because
Yes,
of that.
yes, it is. Yeah, they think it is, but now the reality is, I know there are many, but now the reality is, Muruki, that is false hope. It's just that they don't know because they are brainwashed and indoctrinated. But that is false hope. For me, I'd rather live in reality than live in false hope. Because if I'm living in reality, at least I'll try to find a solution. But when you are just being sold false hope, you'll just be there, okay, something will happen and nothing will happen.
But
And then,
I want to ask you a question.
yes,
Somebody is looking for a job.
yeah,
He's asking you to look for job for her job, or his job, for him to get job or her,
yeah,
and you find him or her is very desperate, looking for that.
yeah.
Which word can you use to tell of that such person?
The word that I can use to tell such a person about what? About the future, or what? About what?
I say is desperate looking for a job.
Yeah, yes, I know he's
Yeah.
desperate
What
looking for a
can you
job.
respond to that person?
I just tell him, continue looking for a job. Don't be so false of that. I don't know, someone will come for you, or these things that Reverend Natasha. I saw another post by Reverend Natasha. I don't know, in 72 hours something will happen in your life. But that is false hope, nonsense. I just tell him, continue looking for a job. Or
And that is enough.
if I find continue looking for a job, or also tell other people that you are looking for a job, so that if someone finds a job, he'll tell you. But if you just, I don't know if it's different from someone, a Christian who will tell him that to, I don't know, pray. You just pray. Yeah, I'll tell him continue looking for a job, or if I find a job opportunity, I'll tell you, or tell other people if they have a job opportunity, they holler you. But now if you tell him I don't know, pray for a job, what is that?
So, Maestro, why with you? The Maestro answer then, why
Okay.
with you? So few.
The reason we are few, I think I'll I don't know, it's elaborate, or the point that Lucheveli said that a lot of people here in our country and Africa at large were desperate people, and I think you can remember the post I shared, that the video I shared about Jimmy Wanjigi, when he was talking about when he went to a reverend, you don't know, he told him what, why do you, I don't know, why do you have people in your church? I don't know. We come here to pray for. I don't know. We are many here so that we pray for people we pray for people to get out of poverty, and so, and Jimmy Wanjigi asked him, what now if people are now out of poverty, will you have anyone else to be in your church? So that's the reason why we are free is many people. The first thing is, many of us, we are born Christians. Of course, this Kenya, 85% of people are Christians. Second thing, indoctrination, childhood indoctrination. When you get a child after 2 weeks, mpeleke kanisani, sijui mpeleke kwa, what is this event called? I don't know. Kumpeleka sijui mtoto kwa Mungu. I don't know.
Sunday school.
This, yeah. No, not before Sunday school. When the child is like 2 weeks old, the
Dedication.
yes, dedication. That thing of dedication when the child is 2 weeks, dedication in church. After that, when now the child can now speak or walk, is taken to church. Like, the reason is that is one of the reasons why we are very few, because a lot of us, we are brainwashed, and then also, Kenya, a Christian country, there are others who are living in the closet because they are still afraid. They're still afraid of coming out. A lot of them are afraid of coming out. So they just live, they're still closeted. Because, this country, but now it has improved. Now uh, the way people take it, when you tell them that you no longer believe in Jesus, it's a bit it's not that bad compared to someone, when you tell someone that same thing like 10 years ago. So the situation, it will change. I think it will change, because I've seen a lot of Gen Zs. When I see comments online when I see the comments online, when something about religion is there, I see a lot of resentment, and a lot of common sense coming from people who are at least the young. This old generation, we've lost them, but I think there is hope for the young generation, the Gen Zs. There is hope, and I also want to add one more thing. In my When I was in my teaching practice in this year, in January to April, there was I told you this thing uh, a while ago, that there was one student who he said it himself that he's a pagan, and in front of the other students, when the day for introduction, when I was introducing now myself, I'll be a theory teacher, meaning he said he's a pagan. And from what I also heard later, that he was challenging you see those days when he remembered me, those days when I was a Christian, and I was debating with Muslims, because when I'm in Mombasa, the amount of Muslims and Christians is almost the same. Don't think that there are a lot of Muslims more than Christians in Mombasa. The number is almost equal. So in schools there, the number is evenly balanced. So it reminded me when I was in school, when I was there was those debates between Christians and Muslims, and I used to be to be one of them. So him now, he was challenging the Christians. He's informed about whatever he knows. So that's why now when the Christians they are asked questions about their God, now they come to me. Those Christians, because there was one who came to me with a verse from Matthew, I don't know chapter what, which said Jesus did not come to bring peace but war. And I didn't know even what to answer. So there's hope for this future generation that they will be more if people now stop living in the closet. If people who are not living in closet, will be a lot more. Yes, that's my point.
Okay, thank you. Dorcas?
All right. Why are we few? Why is the atheist community so small? That's such a poignant question, Morioki. Hopefully, we'll get answers and we'll find solutions, because growth is always welcome. At the moment, we have 127 members, 127 atheists. And we've been tinkering or hovering around that number, 120. It goes up, sometimes it goes down, but it never gets to 200. So we have a problem. Okay, it depends on how you look at things. Because some people can actually perceive it to be a blessing in disguise, since when you are small, you are more intimate. When we had that hangout last Sunday but one, it was very intimate. We got to exchange ideas personally, like people shared some deep personal stories. I think Morioki can testify. Deep personal stories. I don't think that would have been possible if we were 200 individuals. The more large the group becomes, the less personal it becomes. So sometimes let's not perceive atheist communities being small to be always a disadvantage. In some instances, it can work in your favor. But at the end of the day, everybody wants to grow, everybody wants to spread their ideas. So it's still desirable for us to be many. Now, these are my reasons. Of course, I agree with what Luceveleli said and what Eston said. I would just like to emphasize it and maybe bring in a different dimension. This aspect of indoctrination, we cannot say it enough. Indoctrination, religious indoctrination begins at a tender age, before your critical thinking skills have been formed. Religion, if you are a Christian or you're from a Christian family, it is peddled as the truth. You are not shown other alternatives. So once that is ingrained in your mind, it becomes very difficult for you to leave it. What's more, religion has some self-reinforcing mechanisms. It tends to demonize external ideas that negate it. You know, there's a stigma around atheism. There are Bible verses that condemn not believing in God or not worshiping the Christian God. In fact, the second commandment and the first commandment, and even I think the third commandment, tell you not to dare worship any other God. Implicitly, it could cover atheism, because we don't worship the Christian God. And then there are also other verses that specifically direct that specifically focus on us as atheists, and they call us fools. So you are taught from a very early age, don't listen to opinions from atheists or from antichrists or God haters. So for me, I remember when I was a Christian, if I would hear some radical ideas attacking God or speaking against that idea that God is real, I would immediately change channels. I remember stumbling upon a comedy routine by Eddie Griffin when he recreated, I think some of you who love comedy know this one. He recreated the scene between Adam and Eve and how Adam discovered sex. And he even recreates an oral sex scenario between Adam and Eve. And I kept thinking, this is blasphemous. Gosh, I shouldn't be listening to this. The same was for Ricky Gervais. Ricky Gervais at some point he even called God gay, because there was a children's book they used to teach them with, and it had drawn God and put blush on his cheeks. So he's like, the only man who would wear makeup is a gay person, so God is gay. And I think, oh my gosh, this is terrible. So that's what happens with most believers. They've been trained not to listen to contrary ideas. They've been told that is demonic, that is the Antichrist. So they stay in the fold. And then you compound that with the other social support, the other forms of social support that the church provides. And they can also turn it around and ostracize you the moment they realize you no longer believe. So because of that, you're thinking, oh my gosh, these are the people who got me a job. They're the ones who connected me with a job, or these are the people that did my baptism or my wedding. They're the only social support system I have. So people just stay in the fold. You cannot underestimate the power of indoctrination. And that's why we kept saying that we need to change Kenyan laws so that they remove religion from our schools. Children should not be taught religion that early in schools. Or if they must, then let's teach children all the religions. Don't peddle one as the quote unquote truth. Yeah, so there's that aspect. That's why we are few. Predominantly, that's the major one. Critical thinking skills in the area of belief and religion, those ones have not been harnessed. They've not been sharpened in our population, in the Kenyan population. And then the other thing is these fears that religion exploits. Religion exploits the fear of death. That one is so big. It's so big. People fear hell. I know of some atheists who still harbor a fear of death as a leftover from the religious indoctrination. The idea that, oh my gosh, I might possibly burn for eternity. So people continue to stay in religion because of that. There's the fear of being immoral. Religion teaches you that it has a monopoly over morality, and that is not true. There's the fear of meaninglessness in life or unhappiness. It again, religion convinces people that it is the source of happiness. Without religion, you will never be happy, or without religion, you will never find meaning in your life, or without religion, you will never be moral. So because it has convinced people that way, people think there's no alternative. Even if they're unhappy with the church, even if they've noticed cracks in the wall, they don't take it any further. They don't do more research to discover that indeed religion is not true. They just stay there because of those fears. And then the other third thing, I think it is inward pointing marketing. On our end, guys, we really need to step up our game in terms of marketing our existence. People don't know that SAS-K exists. And as El Maestro said, our our youth, our Gen Zs are questioning. That demographic is ripe to become atheists, to join our community. If we can just be sending videos of some of these meetings, some of these discussions that we are having to TikTok and to X and all the other platforms, I think we can capture them. But we need to step up our game when it comes to media. But as I told you guys, that's not my strong suit. I don't do media. I don't do social media. I do physical meetings. So I'm just requesting the people in charge of that in our society kindly step up. We need to market ourselves because there are some Gen Zs who are open to these ideas. I'm done, Morioki. I see you have unmuted. I know I've spoken for long, but now I'm wondering, will we discuss? Sorry?
In charge of the media. Who's in charge of the media? You know who's in charge of the media?
Morris. Yeah, Morris, I'm calling you out, Mr. Chair. You are in charge of that. So please step up your game. And we also need volunteers to help us with those platforms, with TikTok, with X, etc. Please volunteer. We need you to help us market atheism. Now, Morioki, I'm wondering, will we discuss? Will we discuss what atheists do in their free time? Because that was the first aspect of the question. Okay, great. Thank you. That was all.
Okay, Debe, go. Debe.
All right. Was I before Azrael or after? I spoke. Azrael, do you want to go first? I had spoken.
Okay, Azrael, go. It's okay.
He's not there.
Okay. Yes. So can I go?
Okay.
Yeah, just go.
Okay.
I'm here. Yeah, I was asking a few questions. When I think when Stanley was speaking, he said something about how religion gave false hope, right? And like I don't know, but when he was talking, he said about how I was confused about what he meant by hope, right? Like what is true hope and what is false hope? I would like him to clarify that for me, because I want to see if words of encouragement, right? Words of encouragement can consist of what he means by false hope, and if that is so, then if he can clarify to me what true hope according to him looks like. And also the other thing that I want to ask is
right now or later. Do you want right now or later?
Oh, right now. Right now. Because maybe they might forget. Maybe he might forget the question. So, if Indebe will give the opportunity for Stano to answer me that question.
Stano, 3 minutes. Stano,
Okay.
3 minutes, please. Yeah, 3 minutes.
For me, what I understand about the hope is just like encouragement or telling person just to keep pressing on. For example, you may find somebody is desperately looking for a job. You cannot just give him the reality by saying to find a job nowadays is very hard, which is true. To find a job is very hard, but you cannot tell that person like that. You just give him or her some little hope by telling things will be better. Keep looking for a job, and I will also be assisting you, just like that. So hope is like somehow an encouragement. It's not hope like that of religious, but for the religions, they just say God is going to open a way, and they mean that, which is totally false hope, because it's something that we have never proved to be working. We only find them failing. Mr. Rambri.
As well. No.
Of course. I understand that part, but there's this thing to just telling someone that he should keep looking for a job and you find it also doesn't work. Like it doesn't necessarily work too, does it? So then the thing comes to me that you don't believe that that's a words of encouragement. Because if encouraging somebody, that does not necessarily mean that what that they are hoping for will come true eventually, right? It is the same thing with the religious person saying that oh, keep on hoping, God, you trust God and you find a work. You cannot tell me, well, what I'm not saying that God actually helped them find work, right? But in that idea of trust God and you find work, do you believe that that trusting God and finding work, it never occurs? Like just trusting the imaginary figure God, right? And him just going about his time finding work and looking for a job. Like they won't find work or what? Is that what you believe? I know.
No, for me, I don't believe that. But I was asking a question. It's me who was asking the Eston the question. How can he tell somebody who is desperately looking for a job? But for me, I say something you need to respond in a positive way, such a way that you will not discourage that person, but you don't give him some power or some energy to keep with that positivity as he continue to look for a job.
All right.
I think
I also want you to answer me.
Okay, I think
How can you tell such person? Which ones can you say to encourage or to tell that person who is desperate?
Azrael.
Well, if somebody is desperately looking for like at least looking for some sort of hope, right? All I'll give him is a word of encouragement. Like let's say he's looking for a job, as you are saying, and he's not getting one, right? And me, I don't have the capacity to help him get one. I just keep telling him to just keep on looking or keep doing whatever he's doing, right? And hopefully he will get the job that he wants. That is all that I will say to that person. That's all that I would say. As an atheist, that's all that I would tell him. Okay, but I think that I understand your stance on this topic of true hope. And I have another question. I think it was for Estonia and Dorcas. What is the difference between indoctrination and raising somebody? Let's like a child, right? As you all know, I believe in subjective morality, right? I don't believe in this kind of idea of morality being universal, or I believe in people doing whatever they want whenever they want. Right? So as long as they can get away, they can get away with it. Okay. So, what is the difference between indoctrination and raising, where children are concerned? I would like to know that.
Okay,
Estonia.
As the answer later, so Dorcas and Estonia down, Then Israel.
Yes, I'm here. I'm still here.
You can repeat the question. Repeat the question.
Okay. All right. When you find okay.
Yeah.
I'm saying that you let's go on, right? So anytime anybody gets the chance, they can answer my question of what constitutes indoctrination and how is it different from raising a child, like in the case of a child rearing. So indoctrinating a child and raising a child, what is the difference? So anybody that gets a chance to answer the question, I'll be very happy if they do it for me.
Okay, Stan, your 3 minutes, eh?
Can you repeat the question, Azrael?
Thank you.
Indoctrination and raising a child?
Yes, that was my question. What's the difference?
Okay.
Okay, Stan, 3 minutes.
So, Azrael, just go to the dictionary and look for the word indoctrination. Right now, in my dictionary here, it says indoctrination is the process of teaching a person or a group to accept a set of beliefs uncritically. The process of teaching a person or a group to accept a set of beliefs uncritically. But when you are the difference between indoctrination and when you are raising a child is you are feeding the child, you are doing everything for the child. That is it's very different from raising a child is very different from indoctrination. Indoctrination, it deals with beliefs, teaching a person or a group to accept a set of beliefs uncritically. That is very different from raising a child. Raising a child is it's a
Well,
lot of
I don't know.
things.
From my point of view, and from the answer that you just gave, it sounds the same to me.
Sound the same.
It sounds the same.
How do they sound the same?
You are basically bringing up the child, teaching the child or enforcing certain values that you as an adult or as a parent believe it is beneficial for the child as they grow up, right? So you are basically teaching the child your beliefs or what you believe to be true, what you think you know is is correct, and instilling the child with these ideas, these philosophies, these beliefs, so that as the child grew up, they'll pick these things up by themselves, and then they basically become a copy of the parents in a way, in one shape or form, right? So indoctrination and raising both does that, which leads me to believe that they are literally the same thing.
Not really.
Okay, let's move on. Azrael, in Ghana, why are you few atheists?
Is that
In Ghana, why are you few? In Ghana, why are you few atheists? In Ghana, why are you few? Why are Christians more than you?
Oh, we are few because of the inactivity mostly. The two organizations that last time I talked to you about, right? That's the Humanist Atheist Association of Ghana and the Atheist Association of Ghana. One such group is I think is the Humanist people. They are very quiet. It's the Atheist people. The Atheist Association of Ghana, they are mostly inactive. We don't really hear much of them in the news or whatever, but the humanist people are active, right? They are few because of, I'll say, religion. Okay, a majority of the country are religious, either mostly Christian or Muslim, with a minority, traditional beliefs, and a really small non-religious affiliated persons. So the atheists are few in Ghana because of there is still the pervasive belief in gods and the supernatural. And even those who are not even affiliated, right, or don't stick to one particular religion or not, still have this belief in the supernatural. So with atheism being like a total rejection of these super phenomenal ideas, it's kind of hard for it to stick to these people, right? It's kind of hard for them to sleep. And the atheist people are also not very loud here. They are not loud at all. I think the one time when we heard their voices was I think during when the gay bill was being drafted, right? They came out in droves to try to protest it, but they were shut down by the religious groups. So that is why opposition from the various religious groups, and also if unless something major happens, they are usually quiet. Usually quiet. That is why atheism is not very thriving here in Ghana.
Okay, fine. Thanks. There we go.
Yeah, thank you. Let me look at that doctrine and raising a child, but those are totally so different, Azrael. I don't know how you associate them, because if you're raising a kid and you tell the kid, have your lunch, there's no belief about that. You're raising this child, you're feeding it, you're clothing it, you're making sure that this child is safe, you're making sure that it goes to school, it learns to read. That's not a belief. Now, the doctrine is when you start to pick a religion for that child. You take it to Sunday school, Catholic or African Brotherhood. There's such a church in Ukambani, African Brotherhood Church, or Baptists. That is when you start indoctrinating. That first of all, you have picked a religion for it. You've picked Christianity, and you've picked a certain branch of Christianity, the Baptists or the Catholics. You're beginning to choose a lot of things for this child, and even your belief, the part of the religion, the Bible that you pick, is the same thing that you're going to feed this child. You're not going to be feeding the Bible holistically or the religion holistically, but your brand. So that is indoctrination. You're giving this child a kind of doctrine, whether it's religious. Here we are going to deal with religious, not the political, because there are very many different kind of doctrines. So we are just dealing with the religious. So that is the difference between indoctrination. They are really, really different, east-west difference. All right. So let me also attempt to answer the question, why atheists are few. Now, we are going to have to qualify where are they few? They are few in the places in Islamic countries. Well, do you lose your head? You can't be an atheist. You're going to have to in Kenya. Let us deal with Kenya, because Azrael can deal with, and the other people can deal with whatever country they are in. In Kenya, you are a Christian by default, because 90% are Christians. So if you are up country, you are a Christian by default. You go to church after you've done whatever you've done all day or all week long. You sit in the pews with the rest of the Christians, and you are a Christian. In the village, you cannot say, "Oh, I'm not a Christian." You cannot, because everybody is a Christian. Who will you be associating with? They will disassociate you. So many things can happen to you, because if you have got 90% of the population you're living in are Christians, you don't have the empowerment. Well, you might. Maybe if you are in Nairobi, you could have the empowerment. And I mean the empowerment to say, you know what, I'm an atheist, and hey, you know what, I am an atheist, that's it. So maybe you have to be, even when you are running, you are self-employed, you have got your own kiosk, you will probably not say, no, you are not empowered enough to say you are an atheist. People might not, you might lose some customers because of that. So when 90% of the population you are living in is a certain doctrine, particularly Christianity and Islam, you are, it's almost like a default position. Now, let me come back and say that as I was growing up, and I'm actually going to ask you everyone here a question. If you know somebody when you are growing up or even now that is not a Christian or that is not in the religion that 90% is, particular Christian, I'm interested in Christians because I know that they can give you a particular kind of love, that Christian love, boy. Anyway, so as I was growing up, there was a lady in our village and she was the midwife. She midwifed all of us. And she was not a Christian. So, but her kid was, was a Christian and whatever. She went to school and everything. Actually, I think now she's a bishop or something like that. So, in kind of going the other direction. So, that one was the only person that I knew was what, like when I look back, I said like, this woman was into whatever religions that she was into, but she was the only one person that refused to follow Christianity in the village. And you can just imagine. But so that is what I'm going to say. I don't know how she got her empowerment, but I think she had a few brains that she was rubbing together from what now after I think about it. And she was the first anti-vaxxer. Yeah, go figure. First anti-vaxxer. So now that it is with that 90% of them of that population. Now, the other thing is that I have already mentioned that once you have 90% is religious, you are almost a Christian by default. And as you all know, atheism is not something that you can be by default. You cannot be an atheist because you are in a bunch of atheists. It is something that requires, it's not a lazy thing. Christianity and the religion is a lazy thing. You can be a Christian just the lazy way, but atheism is not. It can't be a default, and it cannot be a lazy way because it requires that you engage some parts of your mind that either you knew you had or you did not know you have, but they are going to have to be engaged because you are looking for answers. And that way you are engaging your mind very, very actively in search of these answers and in rejection of some of the positions that you had before and some of the positions of 90% of the people you are living with. That is very heavy lifting, if I must say this, if I must say this. And because of that way, the way it is, you are, as an atheist, you are picking to be the odd man out or the odd woman out of this 90% of your population. And whether you are empowered or not, you are going to feel the effect of that kind of situation. It is the same as, if you remember Galileo Galilei, he said, no, we are not the center. We are not going. The sun is not going around us. We are not the center of the solar system. And what? Like 100% of the people were. That's what they believed. And how dare he? How come and tell us that we are not so important in the eyes of God, that we are the center of everything? Kick this man out. Kick him out of the church. Probably he was ostracized in all kind of ways. So it is the same way being, and I'm not saying that we are as thoughtful as Galileo Galilei, but I'm just saying that it's the same situation. We are taking a position that is not it's not favored by everybody. It's a position that can lose you your business, can lose you your job. So it is a situation that you are going to have to think. Now, I want to say something about when somebody, or if somebody comes to you with a problem, and we had picked that somebody is looking for a job. And when this question was going on, I thought that when somebody comes to you and they are looking for a job, you probably want to say, let's look at your resume. That one is not an empty placation. you are not going to say, oh, I'm going to pray for you, I'm going to remember you in prayer. No, let us look at your resume. You look at his resume. Maybe you are not the best person as doing a resume, but you can still look at his resume and say that, and now because you've seen that this person's resume, when you go out there, you can mention, you can be actually, now because you have seen the resume of this person, if they allow you to see it, when you go out there, you are active. You're active in looking for a job for this person because you know who they are, what their capabilities are, and you can pass it to your friends. Now, it is the only problem that people have is not a resume, but I think that there are very many other things in which you can help somebody without giving and not give them empty placations or false hope. Because once you look at their resume, it's not a false hope. You know how, or you know if what you would be looking for out there. Sorry, I took a lot of time. I'm going to, I hand it over. Thank you.
Thanks, David. Okay, before Eugene speaks, I want to ask a quick question. So, as a small community, as atheists, can this work? Like during Easter or Christmas, we boycott our families, then we get together and do our own thing during Easter and Christmas. Now, can that work? Because it can work. We say we'll be on our own because we are atheists, then we do our own thing. Can that help us grow as atheists? Okay, Eugene.
Thank you very much, Muriki. I was actually supposed to go, but I think Azrael made me stay just to respond to him. But I'll start by responding to your question first. Personally, I don't think I'll ditch Christmas. Just as someone earlier talked about traditions or is it rituals? I think to me Christmas is sort of a ritual, and I'm not really more into the religious bit of it, but I'm just after the hanging out with the family and friends and thing. If it's having some barbecue and all that, I'm just in it for the vibe. So maybe yes, I guess maybe if there's anyone else who's open-minded to it, I think it's a pretty good idea. Yeah, I think atheists can also have theirs, but don't be shocked when you find out maybe a few of you might turn up, because just I've said maybe I'm not the only one, because people are maybe in it for the tradition, not necessarily for the religious bit. And just to answer Azrael's question, I think he said that it's like there's no difference between indoctrination and raising a child. There is actually a big difference, but you can actually be doing the two unknowingly. What El Maestro defined, I think it's very much correct from Google. I think something to do, keyword, uncritical. Like it's like you're forcing your beliefs onto your child, and then you're not giving them the chance of maybe thinking about it rationally, questioning it. Like you're literally inculcating your doctrines or your beliefs into your child. When you compare that versus parenting, now parenting has very many approaches. You can either be a dictator parent, you can be a democratic parent, or you can even be an involved parent. So depending on the approach you take towards raising your child, will actually determine if you might have some elements of indoctrination. For instance, if you are a dictator parent, you know how dictators work. It's not just about religious doctrine. It can be political doctrine or any other thing, even morality. For you, for example, to tell a child that, what, stealing is bad. If you are a reasonable parent, you should first of all try to elaborate how it is bad, how that act of stealing might, let's say, affect people around him or around her, if it's a girl child. Yeah. Just do this just to give them, an avenue of making a judgment. If it's either good, it's for them to decide if it's good or bad. But you will have given them all the outcomes, so it's them to decide. Now that is different. That's not indoctrination, but you're still raising your child. But indoctrination is now telling your child, you know what, stealing is bad. God does not allow stealing, but you haven't explained why it is bad. You're only saying it is bad because even you were told it is bad. So that's your belief. You're trying to nail on that child, and you're not giving them an avenue for a rational response or a rational decision for them to make. So you're basically telling them what to think. not how to think. So those are very two different things, Israel. I think you can note them down. With indoctrination, you tell your child what to think. Like you have walls and boundaries, places where they are not supposed to go overboard. But now with raising a child or education or any other thing that you're trying to compare, it's like you're teaching the child how to think for themselves. You're not forcing them anything. So that's all I'd say. Yeah, have a good night, guys. Thanks.
Thanks, Eugene. Good night. Dorcas?
Repeat the question.
Yeah, like we are a small community. So my idea is that during Easter and Christmas, we leave our families alone, then we get together. Every Easter and Christmas, we get together ourselves and do our own thing. So people know that we exist. Can that work?
Oh, we already have that in place.
But
Muruki, remember you're against Christmas.
Yeah, I'm saying that
Okay. Today he is peddling the exact idea that he has been opposing for the longest time. Okay, let me continue. Let me respond to your question and also comment and also respond to Azrael's question because it was also directed to me. Actually, we already have such a policy in place specifically for Christmas. And we did that last year. We okay, although it wasn't exactly on Christmas Day, it was around the Christmas season. And in fact, the reason why it wasn't exactly on that date was because we did not raise enough money to pay for the Airbnb where we would have the Christmas party at. Otherwise, we would have had it on the actual day. It would have started, I think, on 24th and gone on to 25th. Now, so yes, it can work. There are people who don't have plans on that day. So there are various categories that could benefit. One, people who don't have plans on Christmas Day or around the Christmas season or the Easter season. It's a holiday, nobody is going to work. They are busy, they are busy doing nothing, they're just idling around. And the only celebrations are happening in religious settings. So those people, if they don't have any plans, if we make plans for them, it will be highly welcome. The second category is for individuals who, want to send a message. They want to show that I'm not with you on that idea of Jesus being given birth by a virgin. So they tell you instead we have an atheist party. So it can work for such individuals as well. And what I said before, this issue of tradition and ritual, just coming together during holidays. So it so happens that the biggest holiday in Kenya is a religious one. Is a religious one, is Christmas. But if the biggest holiday was Labor Day or if the biggest holiday was Jamhuri Day, it's still okay. If we made a big fuss about it, because Christmas is not really about the birth of Jesus. Christmas is about mass consumerism. You see how people will buy chicken, how fare will go up, the transport sector capitalizes on that. So it's about capitalism and about consumerism. It's just about using your money and eating and all that. That's what Christmas is really about, even among religious folk. So we as atheists might still want to partake in that tradition, in that celebration, even though it doesn't mean anything to us religiously. So I think, it can. But Morioki, now I asked you about the other question. Are we ever gonna address it? I'm looking at the time.
No,
or can I respond? Can I respond to it? The other question. Yes.
Fine.
Okay. So let me respond to the first part of the title of this topic, today. If you looked at the flyer was saying, how do atheists spend their free time and find community? So Morioki has really concentrated on community, while the first aspect hasn't been addressed per se. Maybe some people have touched on it in a shallow way, but we haven't really delved deeply into it, and time has run out. So maybe I'll just state it quickly because I still need to answer Azrael's question. Atheists spend their free time doing different things. As we said, we meet once a month. So at least we know that once a month, they spend it, some of them spend it in an atheist hangout once a month. What about the rest of the weekends? I'm assuming it's weekends, but the other people who are free in between, where do they spend their time? Now, I can't speak for everyone. I can only speak for Dorcas, the atheist. This might not be representative of other people. And I would like to challenge those who are finding a gap in their free time, in their social life. They are feeling lonely, they are feeling isolated, and they are missing church because they don't have community. So in as much as I advocate for this, in as much as I advocate for an atheist community, it shouldn't be the only community you belong to, guys. It doesn't have to be an either or type of thing. You can be in this atheist community, you can be in other hobby communities. So I would encourage people to look for hobbies, areas of interest that you have, and join their groups. Go online, go on Facebook. Facebook is really good with that, or TikTok, or wherever. Go there and check out meetings, physical meetings. I have to stress the importance of physical meetings. Virtual meetings are never enough. Okay, virtual meetings are never enough. For you to have real bonding, you have to meet physically. So go to social media, go on Facebook, go on X, or go on all those other platforms and look for where your community is. If you're into hiking, go and check out people who are hiking. Moses Kamau told us that tomorrow morning he's going to run because he belongs to a runners club. So in my case, I belong to a book club, and we meet once in 3 weeks. I've forged such strong ties with those ladies, I call them my sparkling girls, that we hang out during these other times. All of them are Christians, by the way. So this coming Sunday, we'll be going to the club. There's R&B brunch somewhere in Westlands. This is an invite if you're into daytime clubbing, because we don't want to lack transport. That's why we are not going at night. So if you're into daytime clubbing, please join us. So we go to the club together with these ladies. We go through so much. When I was sick, those ladies are the ones who stood by me. In fact, when signing in, when you're admitted in hospital, you need somebody else, your next of kin, to sign you in. I don't have a next of kin. It is my friends from the book club that held it down. So what I would encourage you guys to do is to find a community that centers on an interest, a physical meeting that they have, and then you join. So that's how I spend my weekends. My free time usually comes during the weekends, so I can go to the club, I can go to those book club meetings. I take walks. I take walks in nature, but those ones I usually do just by myself. And then I love to shop. Oh, I'm a shopaholic. This is why I don't own property. So, okay, that's how this atheist spends her free time. Lastly, I know I've talked a lot. Azrael asked a question: what is the difference between indoctrination and raising a child? Eston elucidated the definition of indoctrination very well. And he mentioned that aspect of uncritical thinking. I also looked for another definition of indoctrination, and it says it's the process of repeating an idea or belief to someone until they accept it without criticism or questioning. You just repeat until they accept it as true, even though it isn't. They accept it uncritically. You know, there's the aspect of criticism. You have to criticize something. You have to look for its flaws for you to be critical in your approach to the idea. So how does this look like in terms of raising children? If you want to raise your child critically, then what you do is you present different religions to them. Yeah, you teach them all the religions, at least the ones that are relevant in your country. Here we have Hinduism, we have Islam, we have Buddhism. You tell them all of those possibilities. And so the child, and you don't peddle one as true because it's just a belief system. But I'm hearing feedback. I think that is you, Stano. Your mic is unmuted. So when you teach your child, when you teach your child something critically, what you do is you don't peddle a belief as though it is true. And we must remember the definition of belief in this context. It is accepting something as true, especially one without proof. So Christianity does not have proof. You accept it as true, and you teach your child that this is true. You tell them that because Adam and Eve ate a fruit, then all of humanity became sinful. Yeah, you teach them that there's a place called hell where you'll burn forever and ever in fire, and acid, sulfuric acid, and you teach them that that is true. That is definitely the truth. So that's the indoctrination. And the other aspect, the other uncritical aspect, is when you do it before they develop their critical thinking faculties. When a child is 2 years, as soon as a child can start talking, these religious people start infusing those ideas in them. You should wait until they reach the age of reason. Maybe they are preteens, then now start introducing religion at that point. Yeah, those are my perspectives on how to raise a child critically. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Dorcas. So I think one last question, as atheists, Dorcas mentioned social media. So what can we do to attract people to us? What methods can we use to make people come to us? Like what can we do to make people see these are a good group so they can join us? Thanks. Yeah, was I clear? What can atheists do to attract people to them? What can we do to make people see we are okay to join? Yeah, Estonio.
So the first thing is the only thing we need to do. You know, we are not here to evangelize. We are not evangelicals. We are just here to prove to tell them that they are wrong. We are not here to evangelize atheism. So the only thing we just tell them is this: you just tell them you are what you are God. You've been lied to. Just tell them you've been lied to. That this thing called religion is a scam. Just tell them that. And then it becomes up to them. Because the journey it is long. You can't just go to someone who is a Christian today and then tell them Jesus are not existing, and then tomorrow he joins us tomorrow. No. He has to first accept it himself. He has to put it in his mind first. Like everyone here, when you are explaining your journey to until you became an unbeliever, it was a journey. It didn't just occur one day that someone tells you this and that about Jesus, your mind is tickled and immediately become an atheist. No, it's a journey. Just tell them your religion is a scam. That's it. It now becomes up to them if their mind will if their mind is closeted or their mind is they're open-minded. It now becomes up to them. So your mic is muted, Muriuki. I can't hear you. Your mic is muted.
Sorry, I'm saying your closing remarks.
My closing remarks, actually, I didn't even say how we can create a community. Okay, how to create a community is, for me, the things that people have said, because for me, apart from here, I also have WhatsApp groups about football. Football fans, they don't care about your religion. As long as you're supporting this team or that team, that's it. They don't care. There's no religion in football. None at all. So that's one way also spend my free time. Another one, my free time, about community, because my free time, some other times I just go for a walk so that I don't get obese. This coronavirus made me get fat, so I'm trying to reduce my body weight. Don't want to be obese. Which other way do I spend my free time? Yeah, that's about football. Communities. My community is football. Apart from this, it's football. That's it.
Okay, thanks. Debe, what can you do to make people come to us in your closing remarks?
Thank you. I usually find the idea of bringing people to atheism hard because, for one, I don't think that when I was born again, I don't think anyone would have pulled me out. That's how committed I was. And maybe youth, being young again, is another thing. So I'm always cautious about that because it is deeply what I shouldn't use deeply mental because it was going to sound as if we are smart or anything, but I think it could. I think could it be personalities, because okay, this and this is why I'm saying that it is deeply personal. There are people who, even when they have doubt in their beliefs, they just they dig in. You know, that is the personality. Who it is. There is, maybe there's a time that we are wrong and we even dig in, but there are more. You will find more personalities in a religion that when you draw out what is wrong, and even when you can see they have seen the light, they dig in. So I don't know if we can say we can make numbers. I can only say that we can put the fact that we exist out there, and then somebody can feel that they are able to, even those who are very doubtful, who are not very convinced, or who are afraid to be alone, to be going against the tide, then they can see that, oh, I'm not going against the tide. There are people out there who think like me. So that is one thing that might help when we advertise our existence. But I don't think proselytizing can help atheism, because you want the people to leave their religion because they have thought about it. They have seen it is not the easy because to jump from being a non-Christian to a Christian and to jump from non-Muslim to a Muslim, it's very easy because it's very easy. There are so many of them. But to go the other direction, it's a bit tricky. But anyway, that is my opinion. But there was also, if that was the last question, I always struggle with that. How people who actually know, you talk to them, you talk the Bible, and you can see they, to start with, they don't even know the Bible. I mean, just to start there, they don't even know the Bible very well, but they are not living. But anyway, so the other thing that I found by the time that the conversation was going on, it was communities and groups. Definitely the idea of being in communities and being in groups is very, very good, because, for example, this particular Zoom group, some of the things and the opinions and the ideas that have been thrashed out here have been very, very enlightening, and that is the good thing about being in a group like this one. But at the same time, the more groups somebody is engaged in, the more ideas and opinions that you get to hear, the more you learn about different things, the more you learn how to engage, how to come out. Sometimes you are shy around some issues, and then you can be able to, it can help us to come out about some of these ideas, to articulate some of the issues about our own lives. So yes, I think the more groups we are, different, diverse groups we are involved in, the better. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, David. Azrael, what can you do in Ghana to attract atheists to you in your closing remarks? Azrael.
What I usually do in my time is that most often than not, I'm a debater. I like to debate a lot. So at any opportunity that I get in any philosophical debate regarding religion or morality, then I inject my various beliefs and philosophy into it. So that's where I'll say my anti-religionist spirit comes into play. So I may try to dislodge some ideas that some people have about this God or that religion or this religion. Mostly Christians and Muslims, and I get into a lot of debate with them over their faith. So as this is going on, some people are also around who are also listening to our debate or listening to our conversation. And I try to be as factual and as logical amount that I can, hoping that at very least my opponent will not get stuck or stick to his box. I'm breaking it. Sorry, my network is not very good. So as I'm saying, I usually get into debates with Christians and Muslims on topics of religion. They know that I'm an atheist. So once in a while, these topics will come up and we'll talk. Okay. And whilst we are talking or whilst we are conversing, I make my points or I insert my logic into my arguments, hoping that they will understand my point of view and that they will accept what I'm saying as truth, or as very as logical or as far more logical than the point or the stance that they believe in. Right. So basically, that's how far I go. Debates where people listen to me as I talk, then they'll judge whether between me and the Muslim and the Christian who is being the most logical. And I hope that they take my side, or I hope that I speak enough sense that regarding the topic, they'll choose my side of the story as compared to the Muslim or the Christian. So that's how I do it. I don't go out preaching about atheism or that, but in my own personal interrelationships, I try my best to be as logical as I can.
Okay, thanks, Azrael. JW. JW.
Yeah.
Hi, Marioki.
No.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Can
Julian.
you hear me?
Yeah,
Can you
yeah.
hear me? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I changed from my computer to my phone. Okay. So great discussion. I learned a few things, and I totally agree with the suggestions that have been provided by Deve and Dorcas about getting involved in person in as many communities or groups as possible. It helps one's understanding, it opens one's mind up. So what do I do during my free time? Sundays, sleeping. The best thing that ever happened. Weekdays, I used to go to church, is it Wednesday or something? Now I sit at home and I watch Netflix. I'm involved in many groups because I know one group cannot give me all that I need. So I'm in many different groups, different activities, and I choose when to engage or not engage if I don't feel like. What else was it? The question. How do I bring people to atheism? Yeah, just like Never said, I don't know that we can bring people to atheism, but if we behave like ourselves when we can, people might actually see that and be converted. So a good example is my family. I don't know. I think a few of them suspect I'm an atheist. Some of them are not too sure because they're still praying for me. But I don't engage in their God bless you. I don't engage in their sharing Bible verses. When they come to my place, I don't entertain any prayer. In fact, I remember when my mom came to visit, she came up, she brought out her Bible. I said, Mom, you're going to do that alone? I don't do that. And she was okay with that. So did that bring her to atheism? No. As David said, people have to travel their own journey. But I think what is most important is we need to put the word out there on our social platforms. That's the only way we can do it. Because otherwise, I don't know how. Just like I was looking for Kenyan atheists when I found the first group, the atheists in Kenya, AIK. And then through AIK, I found this group. And actually, just to say something, I think we've been with SAS-K was 2 years now, a year and a half. But look how far we've come from when we started. So we've sort of slowly built our community. We have the weekly Zoom meetings. We have the monthly hangouts. Those we must do. And I wish one day we could afford to have 2 hangouts per month in a different part of Kenya, but it's coming. Like we've come such a long way. We're already building this community, and slowly we see people coming to join us. So I think we're doing what we can, but most important is we need to get those socials going. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Julian, a quick question. What if this Christmas you meet with atheist friends? Which work this coming Christmas? You stay from family and this week you meet with atheists. That work, yeah.
Funny enough, I have friends because I don't have family here. So my family are my friends. I think some of them are Christian. I know one is an atheist, one is a Buddhist. But you know what? We don't care. When we meet, there is no praying. Like we do a potluck, we go to somebody's house, especially Christmas, exchange gifts, no prayer. That's agreed. We don't do that. And so some of them have families. So what they do, I think this is what I would also do. They go to their family's Christmas dinner first, and then afterwards they come to our party because it's more fun. So yeah, I totally agree. When Christmas comes around, as we started last year, let's plan for it early, maybe 24th, even maybe 2 days, 24th, 25th, 26th, if they can afford, in Kenya, get group together, people drop in and out, have fun as atheists. Absolutely. Thanks.
Okay, thanks. Dorcas, closing remarks. Dorcas.
Okay, let me close with a response to that question. How do we draw more atheists towards this community? Yes, I agree with Ndeve and Juliana. The journey to atheism is a long one. It's not conversion. You see, with conversion, there you use emotion and you use uncritical methods in order to jump from belief to belief. But here we want people to use critical thinking faculties in order to discard God. Now that is an arduous task. It takes very long. I keep telling you guys how it took me 2 good years to shed away the religious indoctrination within me. So this is what we are working with. We have that disadvantage, which the religious people don't have. Then they can just use aesthetics, a powerful voice, good looks, Reverend Natasha, and they will draw the sheep to them. But for us, we have to use brains, we have to use critical thinking faculties. So the journey is a lot harder. But it doesn't mean that there's nothing we can do to increase our numbers. First step, this one is personal, anybody can do it, is coming out, declaring that you are atheist. It's very important that people realize atheism is an option. Remember Morris's deconversion story, YouTube, if you don't know, Morris is our chair. So Morris told us that he used to think if you leave Christianity, you can only go to Islam or Hinduism or other religions. He didn't know that atheism is an option. The day he knew atheism is an option is when he saw the president of Atheists in Kenya Society on a TV show. And he realized, hiya, I can discard all of these beliefs. And that's when his journey started. So even for us, declare, tell people that you are atheist. If somebody is like, can you do an opening prayer? Instead of just saying, no, I won't, tell them, no, I won't because I'm irreligious. I declare it. That's one thing. At least you'll show other people that this is an option. Those people who are disgruntled with religion, they'll realize, kumbe, there's an option. But that's just the start. It's not enough to get them on board. Then the next step is having discussions with people. I think in my book club, as I told you, I call them my sparkling girls. There are about seven active members. Then there are like 14 other dormant ones or inconsistent ones. So with those active ones, because it's an intellectual group, we meet to discuss political themes, economic themes, etc. They have criticized religion a lot. They've formed a connection between religion and colonialism. And they have realized that Africans had their own belief systems before the colonialists came to bring Christianity. So they're already critical of religion. Now, once I am there to tell them, there's an option called atheism, that you can actually discard all religion, then they become curious. So every time we meet, these ladies always have questions for me about religion, something that irks them, something that irritates them about religion. They always have a question, and they're like, now, how do you answer that question? Like those people who say that the New Testament came to, is it makeup for, there's a word they use, but it's a new covenant from the Old Testament. That's an excuse that Christians use to explain away the evil deeds in the Old Testament. And I give them rebuttals. I explain to them that God has said in over 40 verses, he never changes. So the God that killed the entire earth in Noah's flood is the same God who you say sent the Redeemer Christ. So we have those conversations with these ladies, and I can tell you that many of them are questioning. Many of them are questioning. Who knows? Who knows, one day they might become atheists. And I also share with them videos from our shoots. Yeah, so that's something we can do. Also now, as a society, as I said before, we need to get active on social media because that's where the Gen Z are hanging out, and the Gen Z are ripe for living religion. They are very, very critical of these traditional institutions. So we can do that. Then we can also go on traditional media. We can go to radio stations. We can go to television stations and speak about atheism. We can attend debates in universities. Yeah, we can attend. I personally am very ready to do that, but I am made to pause because of the fact that we are not yet registered. So I wish we just get this registration thing going and we can start putting ourselves out there. I personally have volunteered to be one of them. Our chair has already been doing it as an individual because he has his personal brand as Secular Kenyan. But yeah, that's also something that can get guys to open their eyes. Overall, I've enjoyed the discussion. Thank you so much, all that contributed. Thank you so much, Deve. Thank you, Luchebeleli. Thank you, Azrael. Thank you, Eston. Thank you, Juliana. Thank you, Maurice. I think he said something small. Ex-Pastor Sano said something small. And thank you so much, Muriuki, for moderating the discussion.
Welcome. Okay, I missed the YouTube last time. I missed it. How do I get it after this? I couldn't get the last one on YouTube. I couldn't get it after this.
Okay.
I know it's live.
Okay, I'll ask El Maestro. Yes, yes, I'll ask El Maestro to share the link. I'll ask him to share the link on all our WhatsApp groups.